and welcome back, Kipsters. Today we are going to learn about how to use gist statements, in other words, information about the who, what, where, when, why, how of a text, in order to craft objective summaries that only include the most important details from the text. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the title, Introduction to the Middle Ages, Nobles and Knights. So now I know when the information takes place during the Middle Ages, and I know that I'm going to learn about nobles and knights. All right, now I'm going to look at the subheading here. It says the Middle Ages, the medieval years. So subheadings tell me that I'm going to learn specifically about the Middle Ages as I read. All right, let's get started. The Middle Ages, or medieval time, is generally believed to have started with the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 and to have lasted about 1,000 years until about 1450. The beginning of the Middle Ages is called the Dark Ages because the great civilizations of Rome and Greece have been conquered. Okay, so I learned some important information here. I learned that the Middle Ages took place between the years 476 and 1450 and are known by many different names, including the medieval years or the Dark Ages. Life was very hard in the Middle Ages. Very few people could read or write. Their lack of knowledge often led to superstitious beliefs. The people thought that fate ruled their existence. Therefore, there was little hope for the improvement of their condition. During the years of the Roman Empire, the poor people were protected by the soldiers of the emperor. When the empire fell, there were no laws to protect them, so they turned to the lords to keep the peace and to act on their behalf. The willingness to be ruled by the lords led to the beginnings of feudalism. Some peasants were free, but most became serfs to a lord. This meant they were bound to the lord's land and paid very high rent to the lord. Okay, so one really important detail I learned about medieval society is that people were really uneducated. Another important detail I learned is that society was structured using something called feudalism, where nobles ruled over peasants in exchange for protection. Let's read the last paragraph. The only hope that most people had was their belief that the next life in heaven would be better than life on earth. The Crusades were launched to bring Jerusalem under Christian control because the Muslims had denied pilgrims access to the city. The experiences of the traveling crusaders opened up new worlds and new ideas to the medieval people. Okay, so it sounds like there were some wars being waged over Christianity during this time. So that means that religion, specifically Christianity when it comes to Europe, must have been really important. All right, so now that I have these gist statements that talk about the who, what, where, when, why, how of the text, I'm going to take only the most important information and I'm going to craft an objective summary that only includes details that are most important to the text and does not include any of my opinions. So my summary might look something like this. The Middle Ages, also known as medieval times, were very different from society today. There was a social hierarchy called feudalism in which nobles ruled over everyone, and the serfs, also known as peasants, were forced to work for the nobles in exchange for protection from the many wars being waged across Europe during this time. So notice how I didn't just take the gist statements and copy and paste them, because that would be too much information. I only used the most important information, and I didn't include any opinions like the nobles were really mean to the peasants. All right, so now that you know how to write gist statements and then use them to create a summary, your job is to read the rest of the text, create some gist statements, and write a summary of what you read. Good luck.